If you want to learn how to make teleport pads just like these, remember to watch till the end of the video. The first thing you're going to want to do is click on the Model tab, and then click on Part. Then drag this to wherever you want. Now I'm going to press Control D, which will create a new part in the Explorer. I'm going to take one of the parts and drag it to a different part on the map. Now I'm going to select both of these and go down the Properties tab and go to Material, click on this, and select Neon. Now you could stylize these however you want. This is just how I want to do it. I'm going to make one of these green, the other one red, just so I can differentiate between them. So I'm going to go to brick color, go to green, change the brick color on this one to red. There we go. Now I'm going to name one of them 1 and the other one 2. Now these are name sensitive, so watch out for that. I'm going to create a new folder in the workspace, and I'm going to name this teleport pads. Going to do shift click so I can select both of these at the same time, and then drag them inside this folder. Now I'm going to click on this plus icon, go down, select script, and the first thing I want to do is create the general layout for this. So variables, services, and connections. Services we're going to need are the debris service, and I'll go into kind of what that is later on. The first thing we want to do is refer to the folder by getting the script's parent. And script is just referring to the script object. So that's that. And then I'm going to have a table of the parts that are in here. So folder 1 and folder 2. Now you actually do have to use these brackets and quotations, because if I were to go do, let's say, folder.1, I'm going to get a syntax error, because you just can't write things like that. Same thing with names that have spaces in them and other things like that. Now I'm also going to want a cooldown, because otherwise they're going to just be infinitely teleported, just back and forth, back and forth. Now in connections, I'm going to want to create a for loop. And the code that is inside this code block or scope right here is going to be executed for each instance or object in this table. I'm going to do part.touched connect function hit. Now the touched event is fired every single time that this part instance is touched by another one. So I'm just going to do local humanoid equals local character equals hit.parent. Now if you ever looked inside of a character model, it's made up of a bunch of parts, so we're trying to detect for when one of those parts is touching this, and models can't be touched, so we have to get the parent of that brick to get the character. Because a model is basically like a folder for builds. And I'm going to do local humanoid equals character.humanoid. I'm going to do if humanoid is equal to nil, which means it doesn't exist, or humanoid.health is less than or equal to 0, which means that'd be dead, or humanoid find first child debounce, then I'm just going to return, and this return is going to end this scope so that it will ignore that object that just hit. And I'll go into what this humanoid find first child debounce means in just a second. And now I'm just going to do local root part equals character dot humanoid root part. Now the humanoid root part is a part inside the character that basically tells it where it should be positioned in the game. So if I change the position of the humanoid root part, the position of every other object inside of the character is going to change with it, which is why we need it. Now I'm going to do root part. Well, no. If toNumber part.name is equal to 1, then, and as you know, there's two data types that pop up a lot: strings and numbers. Now, a name is a string. So even though I named this one, that one is a string data type. So the toNumber function turns strings into numbers, if that makes sense. So if this is this one, our first teleporter, then we're of course going to want the person to be positioned at the second part. So I'm going to do parts 2. And then else, which means this wasn't true, so this scope is going to be executed. We'll do root part dot position equals parts 1, because that would mean if it wasn't the first one, then it must be the second one. So we're going to position them to the first teleport pad so people could be teleported back and forth. Now I'm going to exit the script, and I'm going to do a playtest. So the first thing we have to see here is this output is giving us a couple of errors. So I'm going to click on it, and it's going to bring me to where the error was. And I can automatically just know that I should have put find first child here. Find first child basically silences errors in places where I'm trying to find a certain object in another one, but it's not there. So this will return nil if it's not there, but it will return the actual object if it is, which will silence that error. Now I'm going to try playtesting again and see if we get any other errors. So it doesn't look like we got anything. So I'm just going to step on this, and we once again have another error. So this is another easy fix. So we're going to change root part's position, not to the second part, but the second part's position. Just like that. Alright. Now if I step on this again, you'll see that I'm just getting teleported back and forth like crazy. That's because there's no cooldown, so it doesn't know that we just got off the part, because to the script it just thinks, you know, we touched it again, so it's going to teleport us back. So that's where this humanoid find first child debounce comes in. I'm going to create a new variable called debounce. I'm going to call it instance.new function. And instance.new creates a new object, and we're going to create a bool value. Debounce.name equals debounce, which is why we did find first child debounce there. And debounce.parent is going to be equal to humanoid, so we'll recognize that. But we need a way of destroying this as well. So I'm going to do debris, add item, debounce, cooldown. And what this is going to do is it's going to wait this amount of time and then destroy our debounce, so that at some point we can use the teleporter again. Now another thing that I noticed with this code is that our parts are unanchored, so they're going to start flying around when we occlude with them. So I'm going to do part.anchored equals true, so they don't move around all over the place. And then I'm also going to make it so you don't spawn directly inside of a part, but rather above it, so it looks like you just spawned right on top of it. So I'm going to do local offset equals vector3 dot new 010, which is basically a short way of saying put it one stud above that part. So I'm going to do plus offset here and plus offset. Now I'm not going to go into what a vector 3 is specifically. It's a pretty simple concept, but I'll leave something in the description if you're curious about it and don't know what it is. Now I'm going to go back and play test just to make sure everything's operational, and we'll see. So there we go. Perfectly working teleport pad. It works back and forth just like that. If you liked the video or just found it educational, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.